like, I studied that. I am a doctor. There's nothing wrong with it. So just what I'm saying is this is still a problem, and we like women, we have to fight this in a smart way. Just when you get married, try to choose a supportive husband, someone who will understand the demands of your career or your ambition or your dreams. Yeah.
Let's have a child, then you'll do what?
That's exactly what we took.
That's what I thought. Let's have a child, then do your part. Family person.
So I really value your input, Juman, because when I reflect on this question, I feel like a little bit of an imposter, like being an American Palestinian, because nothing about me is Palestinian when I'm outside of this space, except for like my hijab, and that identifies me as Muslim, right, not Palestinian. So in terms of like any real obstacles that I face as a Palestinian, I have to say, and this may be just me unique, right? Like as me, my unique situation is that I didn't really have anything that I would say is a huge obstacle. In terms of like cultural, social norms, we might be lagging behind Americans when it comes to like renegotiating like expectations at home, right? So we're in the workforce, we're getting degrees. I think more than half of the college students are women, right? But less than 10% are in the workforce. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that you're at home still expected to do everything, like in terms of role and division of responsibilities. So as she said, exactly that. You have to find the right partner in life that will achieve the family structure that you feel like you need to support what you're trying to achieve for yourself. So the two big things that I would say are soft obstacles, but still real, and from a psychological perspective, the lack of role models is a big one. So the other day I was looking through the Facebook feed and I saw an advertisement for career services that had a hijabi in it. And it was just, it was a random ad, like the most random ad, and it had nothing to do about her, but there was just a hijabi in it. And I was like, wow, it was like unexpected, and I loved it, and I felt like that showed me what we're missing, right, when we look to identify ourselves in those positions, right? So that's one, and then the other is there's no specific opportunities that I know of for Palestinians in advancing like their careers. So if you look around in colleges, there's a lot of ways for people that are minorities or even not minorities to get like supported and lifted in their studies and in their pursuits by having like professors help them, or grants, or some kind of applications that give them opportunities, and I think that Palestinians don't have that as much, right, for them to advance themselves.
Can you just comment on this? One of the things that you talked about, and I agree with you, I think in Palestine definitely we're still way lagging behind for women's issues, but I don't know, I really think it's important to send out this empowerment message that women are changing here. Yeah, and that's really happening today here where we're living. We support women in Palestine, we do whatever we can, and you're one of them. I mean, you talked about this stuff earlier, but here in the United States, I think there is more voice for women, and we're seeing it. And the whole idea of mentoring and support systems for Palestinians in colleges, we're seeing more of that already. We have a member who is of PAC, right? Who has a grant in William Patterson for Arab. All you have to be is an Arab, right? Or is it a Palestinian? Arab. All you have to be is an Arab, and you can apply for this scholarship that's only for Arabs. So we're seeing more of that. I'm sorry?
PAC also has a scholarship.
Yeah, there you go.
So plug it.
Thank you. No, but I think the reason I wanted to touch on all of this, because I think it's really important that we see the changes that are happening for us. We could look at a whole lot of other countries where women are still, even here in the United States, but the reality of it is there is progress, and I think if we keep sending that message, women are going to be more empowered and more willing to continue the battle.
Even in Palestine, it's still like there is that specific path you need to go through, but it's changing. For example, like 10 or 20 years ago, it was you finish high school and then
You get married.
You get married. Right now, it's like it's really important for girls or for young women to go to college. So I think it is changing.
It goes back to like the generation and how things change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because our culture is very like collectivistic, and so like the decisions are already made for us. It's just a matter of us like rebelling and not doing that. But also it comes back to the privilege, like you said, living in America, being Palestinian, actually being a Palestinian back home.
And you know, you say collective, but I think that's very important because Arabs in general, not just Palestinians, Arabs in general, we come from a society that is collective. It's not an individualistic society. So we are expected to think of the family and think what the rest, the mothers like our dear friend Hueda, kids first, no, but that's true, that's the reality of being Arabiya, Palestinian, whatever, we look at it in a collective sense, it's not an individualistic sense.
It's interesting, I recently read an article about like Palestinian women who work because there's not really many jobs out there for them, but typically the Palestinian women who are working, they're forced to work because they need to have money to provide for their family.
Absolutely.
And that goes back to what you were saying, like the shared roles.
Yes.
What are our responsibilities as husband and wife in the house?
Definitely.
And that's a good transition into the next question, which is what barriers or advantages have you encountered as a Palestinian woman within your scope of work? And this comes back to that privilege you might have or you might endure in the workplace, being Palestinian woman.
I think my situation is unique because I do work within our community, so I am surrounded by, Arab women, powerful Arab women. So I think my advantage is just kind of having these strong Palestinian women who are, carry institutions, basically. They carry this institution, the school, so it's a professional, like you said, mentors. We need mentors. And, in my profession, I'm a teacher and I work in an Islamic school. So, every day I'm seeing the grit that these women have to get through everyday obstacles. And like you said, Jaman, positions of authority, wherever you go, you can talk about the biggest company or the smallest institution. Walk into any boardroom, right? And who do you see? It's not a table of women. It's most likely a table of men with maybe one woman on the board, right? So I am seeing, on a daily basis how women can run the show, right? Palestinian, Arab, Muslim women who are, intelligent, strong, articulate, both on a professional and personal level. So, it's one of the reasons, people ask me all the time, I'm definitely not at an Islamic school for the salary, right? But it is for the community, and I choose to be there to be surrounded by these women. So I think that is one advantage. We talk about barriers, but I'm gonna highlight one of, I love being around strong women.
Well, I think I'm in a pretty unique place too. I don't know if you heard it, but I work for the Mental Health Association in Passaic County, and my program is specifically to work with Arabs/Muslims. So I work with all Arab, basically. I have just a few non-Arab that are just Muslim, but the reality of it is the barriers and our advantages are really powerful here. So one of the barriers, so I'm in I guess an American institute, but still working with the Arab within that. So one of the barriers I face, I think, is getting these women, because a lot of my clients are women, but getting these women to come to that place where they feel trust enough to share some of the challenges that they face. Because there's taboo that comes along with that too. You don't go and complain about your family. You don't complain about your kids. Everything is alhamdulillah. Everything is fine. How are you?
Sunshine, right?
Alhamdulillah. So, exactly that. So I think that's one of the biggest barriers for me in the field that I'm in. It's a huge barrier, but alhamdulillah, through work, alhamdulillah, I learn very quickly. I learn very quickly from these women, let me tell you, and they are strong women. They may not know it when they first come through the door, but they definitely do connect to that. And one of the advantages that I love, in working with these women is the fact that I can help somehow guide them for them to find their voice and to find their strengths. And basically I'm empowering them, helping them advocate. Sometimes it's advocating for their rights, just simple, basic human rights that they're advocating for, nothing more. And it's sad, but it's very rewarding, because when you see the response you're getting from some of these women and young girls. By the way, if any mother comes into my offices and complains about her daughter being قوية, the first thing I say is good for her. Because بدك بنتك تكون قوية. It's not a bad thing, but it's because socially we put such a stigma to that word, and have البنت تكون قوية. It's just, it's not. It's a really, it's a positive quality. It's a مؤدبة is different.
قوية ومؤدبة. بس قوية وهبة بتخبص الدنيا.
اسمعي، قوية وشو ما تكون منظبطها بتخليها قوية وبس. But seriously, I mean.
But I think it's that point of kind of always being within that circumference.
Yes.
Right?
So that's exactly, fits the, we're expected to be a certain way. So, so there's a lot of
threshold there.
Yeah, there is. And so these are the, the barriers and advantages that I find in working with the Arab community.
For me, I'm gonna also comment on that. I'll start with the barriers. So I'll talk about barriers as a Palestinian coming from Palestine. When I first moved to the U.S., I was coming from a totally different background. I had a Palestinian passport. I had a Palestinian degree. I graduated from a Palestinian school. So my chances to get into a good training opportunity were close to nothing. So I had to volunteer for 1 year as a postdoctoral researcher until, and this turned into an advantage, so I had to work really hard to get myself into a PhD program after that. So that was one thing professionally. At the personal level, I'm gonna go back to what you were saying. Exactly, we as Palestinian girls are raised in a different way. We're like separated, isolated. We're not very strong. Just let me finish. So when I came here, it wasn't really easy to blend in and be part of the society. Just put myself out there. For example, it was different for my husband. He was raised as a boy, responsible, independent. It is different. I mean, even if we're saying it's not, it really is. I mean, a Palestinian girl is different than a Palestinian boy. What's that? No, it's true. It is true, right? See, she can tell. So that's the second thing. But being able to overcome all these obstacles turned into huge advantage to me, because I became very resilient. I felt like these things gave me strength to overcome anything that comes into my way. Other than that, like I went through both of them.
Sorry guys, can you guys bring it down a little bit?
صوتك قال صوتك.
Oh, I don't know.
Translate.
Okay, so بالعربي. So من الأشياء اللي هي جزء قوة للادفانتجز، يعني لكوني فلسطينية عايشة